Hello, my name is Paul Emerson and this is My02cent. I'm going to be making a video about a topic of discussion that is occurring on the internet. But what I'm showing you is my room. This is my bedroom. I lived in this apartment for a year. I have worked extremely hard and have been very diligent about trying to settle a debt with my apartment manager so that I can keep my apartment, and I'm being evicted despite paying them money. There's no question that I owed them a debt. I owed them a debt, by my calculations, of about $400. I owed them $1,000 for the month of December, and I have been diligently paying them all year. Here's the real issue without playing the blame game. I'm not going to sit here and try to make it seem like the world owes me something, because it doesn't. But why would you let a man live in an apartment for an entire year, pay you money to settle a debt, and then throw him out of his apartment at the very end of the year, in the middle of the harshest part of winter, with the understanding that this same man that you want to pay rent is going to get a tax return in January? So why would you do that? Why would you toss him out on the street in the middle of the winter just because he owes you $500 or $600 when he's been paying you back the money he's been on you for the entire year? Now, let me be clear. I owe them money and I pay rent. So that means that every month I pay my rent and then I pay what I owe them. And my reward for that is an eviction. I have to move all of my stuff out of my apartment and take it to storage. Now, the last couple of days, there's been a huge controversy about Bill Cosby. And I 100% support Bill Cosby. Let me be clear. I do not, in no way, shape, or form, as a man, support rape of any form. That is completely unacceptable, and it is something that is very unethical, and I could do an entire episode of My02cent just on that topic, and I'm not going to, because that's not what this is about. The reason why I support Bill Cosby 100% is because there still exists racism in this country. The reason why I'm being thrown out of this apartment in the middle of winter is because I'm African American. I can't go to a judge and explain it to a judge, but you can look at the facts yourself. If I owe $675 for an apartment, and in 12 years I give you $9,000, because every month that I'm delinquent, you have the right to charge me an extra $150 in late fees, and you exercise your right, and then you choose to increase my rent obligation from $675 to $750 because you say I'm in violation of my lease because I am delinquent, then you are exercising a prejudicial treatment against an individual of this country. That's called discrimination. When you choose to do that because the individual is dark-skinned, that is called racism. Now, the whole point of this video is I've been having a very intellectual discussion on Facebook for the last few days in regards to why I support Bill Cosby. And the reason why I support Bill Cosby is because it's bigger than Bill Cosby. It's bigger than that. I'm getting thrown out of my apartment in 2015 because of my skin color, even though I can't prove it. You know it, I know it. We all know it. We all know that when Caucasians in this country are treated a certain way, it's because they didn't achieve the objectives that were set before them. But we also know that a lot of times African Americans are treated the same way that the underprivileged Caucasians are treated, simply because of how they look. And that's the difference. The difference is that if you fail as a Caucasian male, that's because you're a failure. If you fail as an African American, sometimes it's because your skin is the wrong color. That's two totally different spectrums. I did everything in my power to keep this apartment. I went down there, I was respectful, I was polite, I was decent, I was diligent. I kept a job, I worked 2 jobs, I did everything in my power. The one thing that I cannot do is change the texture of my hair and my skin color. There is nothing that I can do about that. Not a single damn thing. There is nothing in this entire world that can take that away from me and give me the advantage that I need to succeed in a society that operates in institutional racism. And the average American doesn't want to understand that. So the reason why I support Bill Cosby is because the reason why I'm going to go sleep outside in the streets in the snow and work a job to pay back a debt that I didn't even deserve to have to begin with is because Bill Cosby gave me an image of the type of man that I could be if I worked hard. This country gives me an image of the type of man they want me to be: incarcerated, murderer, drug addict, the raper of white women. That's the image America sells. That's the image that America sells to the average African American male. When we're born into this country, that's the image that Caucasian American that are in power give us. We want you to go out, we want you to rob, we want you to cheat, we want you to steal, we want you to kill, and we want you to rape our women. And in that way, we can justify murdering you, we can justify putting you in prison, we can justify undereducating you, and ultimately we can justify putting you back into bondage and making you chattel property again. That's the image that corporate America and the elites that are in power that represent a dying mentality want to perpetuate in 2015. Dr. Cosby, because that is the title that he earned when he overcame the same adversities that I'm trying to overcome now, back in the 40s, in the 50s. Come on now, we're talking about an African American male that achieved greatness in the very medium of slavery, the very medium of racial segregation and prejudice. Dr. Cosby was doing what he was doing while Martin Luther King and Malcolm X was marching and preaching. Think about that for a second. When he was making his shows and developing and producing and doing all the things that he did that made him the man that we know him as, not the rapist, but the man that we know him as, he did it while African Americans were standing in front of fire hoses and being chased by dogs. He was producing shows. He was producing a positive image of what African Americans could be. All of the spin-off shows that came after him are the result of the works that he did. And that's what makes him great. And that's what makes America great. But if you want to throw all that away because Caucasian females are still making accusations that are false against African American males because they live in a society that justifies it, if you can get a check just to tell a lie on an African American male when that has been culture for over 400 years, why wouldn't you? It's something that it's something that has been done in this country for thousands, well, not thousands, but hundreds of years. So why not do it again? Why not keep doing it? Why not keep doing it? When does it stop? Does it stop with my daughter's son? Does it stop with my daughter's son's son? When does it stop? Does it stop with your son? Because you may be Caucasian, but if your daughter has a dark-skinned child, then your daughter's child is going to wind up in the same position that I'm in. And he's going to have to look to Bill Cosby to get an image of himself, because even if an African American is born into a white family, it doesn't change the fact that your skin color defines who you are in this country. Your skin color defines who you are. When you walk down the street, based on how you look, people respond to you based just on that. Just on skin. Just on hair texture. Just on height. Just on weight. So you don't get to change that. You don't get to stop doing that. Dr. Cosby understood that. He understood that, and he stood for something that was greater than him. Now, he may not have been the most upright, outstanding person on the planet. I'll give you that. He may have made mistakes. He may have been a man. He may have cheated on his wife, or he may have, been infidelities. He may have been out smoking weed and getting high and doing what every other celebrity did during his time. I won't argue that point with you. But do I believe that he is guilty of raping 50 women and that he deserves to be completely stripped of his dignity and his legacy, and you are going to completely destroy a large portion of African American? See, there's no such thing as black people. I say it all the time. But Bill Cosby created culture for African Americans. He created culture for African Americans. When we go to the store and we go through the movie aisle and we see The Cosby Show and we see A Different World and we see all the other spin-off shows like Good Times and I can't think of all of them off the top of my head right now, but all of those shows, Sanford and Son, and I can't remember all of them off the top of my head right now. But the point I'm making is that all that stuff is the result of his legacy, all of it. Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Will Smith. You think that Will Smith wasn't affected by Bill Cosby's legacy? What about Cuba Gooding Jr.? What about Samuel Jackson? You don't think these individuals were on some level inspired by the works of Dr. Cosby? So the American culture as a culture has been shaped a lot by what he did, because he had a vision that was bigger than what is going on right now, and that is what is a threat. That is the reason why I support him 100%, because I'm gonna go sleep outside in the snow. See, that's just words for you. Those are words for you. You don't have to really worry about it. You don't even have to believe me, but that's my destiny. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna pay off $6,000 so that I can get an apartment when I know that I live in a society that can do whatever they want to me because of my skin color. That's why it's so important to me that Dr. Cosby's image isn't tarnished, because if it takes one woman to accuse a man of doing something, and then he's going to just automatically be tossed in jail, well, what's to stop the police from doing it to me? What's to stop the police from doing it to anyone? What's to stop the police from doing it to you? If you're male and you're in a relationship with girls, and then they say that you drugged them and raped them and did all these horrible things to them, well, what's to stop you from having the same issue? What's to stop it? Because Dr. Cosby has $1 billion. So if a billionaire can be railroaded because 50 women claim the most, think about this. Bill Cosby is a celebrity. They have no footage that they can present of him with those women. And you know white America has been spending their entire life trying to dig up dirt to do exactly what they're trying to do to him right now. And they can't produce one image. All they have is women going on TV and saying stuff. That's all they have. But I digress. You want to understand why I support Dr. Cosby 100%. Let me show you something. Now look at this. This is a post that I made, and it says, "You might be right. Bill Cosby might not be as good of a person that I believe him to be." Now, the reason why I said this is why I was being misleading, because any evidence that I put online to defend Dr. Cosby is automatically rejected. Automatically rejected. This particular individual's videos completely shatters, without even due process being needed, any accusations about Dr. Cosby and how the accuracy of the statements made. So then I was asked, "Paul, why is this so important? Why is it so important to you, Paul? I love debates and even a plain old good argument, so I'm asking you more so for my own curiosity than to try and force you to reevaluate your position." So then I responded. I responded a lot, and you can just read through that. But the relevance is down here. If you see up here, Quinn tags an individual. Quinn doesn't have a profile picture, but Quinn is Caucasian, obviously, and I'm assuming that this individual that he tagged is also Caucasian. I met Quinn in life. We're not just Facebook friends. I sat next to him when me and him were both in school learning computer networking, and we were both in school because of the Obamacare. I mean, not the Obamacare, but the student loans that Obama had released that allowed everyone to go back to school. So then this is where it gets interesting, right about, well, I posted that, but it gets interesting right, sorry, I'm having a hard time dealing with this whole, give me a second to find what I'm looking for. I think it may have been deleted. Here it is. This is what I'm looking for. And you want to understand the importance of this. Now it's 2015. 50 women said the same thing, that don't know each other. Why are you calling Bill Cosby a doctor anyway? You have to be the dumbest nigger I've ever talked to in a long time. Typically blaming Whitey for everything, stupid ass. Now, it's 2015. Why am I still being called a nigger? Why am I still being called a nigger in 2015? You Caucasians always get upset because they feel like African Americans have this unjustified hatred in this country. Like, we just wake up every morning and look in the mirror and we say, oh, our skin is black, so our lives are miserable. No. We're constantly reminded all the damn time. It's 2015. And here it is. I have to reset my racist calendar again because it is January 4th, 2016, and I started my year off being called a nigger. That's how I get to start my year off. Not only do I get to start my year off being called a nigger, I also get to start my year off being tossed out in the street being called a nigger. And then they wonder why it's so important to me that the legacy of Dr. Cosby is not destroyed by accusations. And that's what's going on. It's going on every day all over the country. Do you know how many kids are going to read that? Do you know how many people read that comment and won't even respond? Not a single person is going to challenge that. Not a single person is going to say, why did you feel the need to call Paul a nigger? There's nothing about Paul that is less than human. So why did you call him that? I mean, Quinn always calls me stupid. But see, nigger doesn't mean stupid. It means less than dumb and subhuman. That's what it means. That's the definition. I don't care about all of that other stuff about blacks claiming a word and all that stuff. You don't get to claim a word. The definition of a word is set in stone. This man just told me that I shouldn't be defending Bill Cosby because I'm less than human. So if he's telling me that I'm less than human, what makes you think that he doesn't feel like Bill Cosby is less than human? You think having $1 billion in your pocket makes you human again? You think in the eyes of someone with that mentality that they're going to just overnight, change the way that their brain works? Dr. Cosby has been targeted specifically by men of his age group that want to see him destroyed before they die. And that is the reason why this is going on. And everyone understands that and everybody knows that. But we're so used to America being a certain type of country that we are going to continue to perpetuate the same type of things that we've always perpetuated. We're going to sit back and let things go. We're going to sit back and just pretend like it didn't happen. We're going to sit back and just wait and see where the currents go. In 2016, we shouldn't do that anymore. We shouldn't. If Dr. Cosby is brought up on charges, we should all African Americans should march. Every last one of us should go down there to the courthouse and tell white America that they are not going to sacrifice Dr. King's legacy over some accusations made by 50 women that are not in compliance with the justice system. And that's the point. The point is that whether he's guilty or not, everything that is happening to him is illegal because it is in compliance with the justice system. And when you do things to people that are illegal and criminal, then you reinforce the simple fact that they're not human, that they're not covered by the Constitution, that they don't have right to justice and due process. And so you reduce them back to being just a nigger. And that is the whole point. Just like when I went to court and got thrown out in the street because I am not recognized by the justice system. I stood in front of a judge, and the judge had already made up his mind that he's going to throw me out without giving me a trial. The only thing the judge was trying to figure out was how much money he was going to make me pay them. But nobody actually said Mr. Emerson actually doesn't deserve to be thrown out on the street because he did his due diligence in paying them. Nobody said that. The apartment complex, they have been receiving partial checks from me to pay my rent in full all year long. So when you get half a check for the rent in the middle of the month, that's not a justification to throw someone out because you've been receiving partial checks from me for the last freaking year. So all of a sudden it's a problem. But next year I'm going to get income taxes. And what you don't want is you don't want me to use my income taxes to pay you in full. That's what you don't want. You want to see me fail at my rent obligation so that I could just be another delinquent nigga. And that's exactly what's going on right there. It's the same thing. It's the same mentality. But you know what? Our justice system doesn't have an actual institution put in place and a legislation put in place to prove discrimination. And I'm not even talking about racism. I'm talking about discrimination. You can't go to court and file a discrimination case. They make you think you can, but you can't. You can't go to court and file and get a discrimination case going. Nobody will represent you. You will never find a lawyer. You can't take anyone to court for discrimination. It's in the books. Corporations aren't allowed to discriminate. They do it all the time. They do it every day. But you can't defend yourself as an American. So what do you think is going to happen if Dr. Cosby is found guilty based on accusations that are fabricated and not even accurate? They're not even accurate. If you take half a second to step outside of the normality of this planet, the normality of the way you've lived all your life, and you look at what's going on, you will understand that this is just no different than any of the other lynching that has taken place in this country for the last 400 years. And that's a problem with me. I have a problem with that because I have a daughter that looks like me. And I don't want her to have to live under the same legacy that I grew up in. And unfortunately, in 2016, there are still men out there that are teaching their children what nigger actually means. And that is why Dr. Cosby's legacy needs to be protected. That is the very reason why. They pull all his shows off the air. They're taking him off of cable. They're taking all of that stuff, all of that positive imagery that they give an African American child. It's all being stripped because 50 women came out and lied on television. The question you need to ask yourself is, are these women capable of lying? And when you say yes, you need to ask yourself, is it worth Dr. Cosby's legacy for us not to question whether or not these women are lying? Because it is not worth his legacy. 50 women are not worth the millions of minds that are shaped in a positive direction by him. Do you know how many crimes this man has prevented? Crime prevention with the images that he's created is a statistic that cannot be proven, but it's a statistic that is understood. Millions, several generations. It's a number that is actually infinite because every generation that comes will be inspired by what Cosby made. Every generation, and not just black, all children. When you're an African American, you look at the Cosby Show and you identify with them because of they have features that are synonymous with yours. But when you look at the Cosby Shows and your ethnicity is anything other than African American or Negroid, you still identify with them because they're human beings having a human experience that is positive and uplifting. So it's American culture, even if African Americans claim it as a predominant image for themselves. And if you're really American, you would understand that. And you would want Dr. Cosby to do justice. You would want him to have a day in court. You would want him to have to be treated and trialed like any other American in this country that has been protected under the Constitution because he's worth $1 billion. And if they can destroy a billionaire by simply having people lie, and they can destroy you by simply having people lie. Trust me, I understand that on a more deeper level than Quinn understands. So that's the whole point. It's been a while since I made a video. And as always, my name is Paul Emerson, and that is My 2 cents.